Hello and welcome back to the Goalkeeping Podcast. I'm Paul Sherritt and this is Shane Ryan. And as you can probably see, those of you looking on YouTube, we are not in our usual studio in the Kassam Stadium in Oxford. We are in a bar in Castle Island in County Kerry. Welcome, Shane.
Thank you. Delighted to be here, and thanks for making the trip over to see us.
I thought it was going to be a bit of a wild and windy trip this morning. We got away with it. We got here. It was wild and windy and wet, which I think is probably what I was expecting, if I'm honest.
Yeah, unfortunately, so this time of year in Ireland doesn't bring the sunshine and the heat, but part and parcel of it. And great to have you in Kerry. So thanks for making the effort.
Well, thanks so much. So hey. What a year, huh?
Fantastic, yeah.
I mean, I don't know where to start, really. I'm going to park the whole All-Ireland thing for the moment. I'd love to go back. So you're All-Ireland winner, we're 2022. You've just become the goalkeeper in the All-Star team. So you've had an amazing year. But I want to take you back. I'm intrigued. So, first of all, how old are you?
26, I turned 26 this year, 27 next February.
You're 26. What do you do for a living?
A teacher, yeah.
Because, of course, Gaelic football is still an amateur sport.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go back. Where did you grow up? You obviously grew up around here. Brothers and sisters, mum and dad. How did you get into sport? Give me a bit of a background about Shane Ryan as a young kid.
I'm the eldest of four kids. Two younger brothers and a younger sister who were also steeped in football and sports made. So I grew up in a place called Rathmore, which is about 35 minutes away from where we are currently. It's on the border between Kerry and Cork. And from the age of 5, I can just remember Kerry, who back in the 70s and 80s had a really exceptional football team, won loads of All-Irelands then, and my father would have been watching them growing up, and there used to be the video cassette tapes around the house, and I just remember watching those and just being in awe of the athleticism and the prowess and the skill of those players. And I'd watch that video, I'd go to the back with my brothers, and I was probably lucky there that my brother and sister were close in age to me. So my younger brother Mark is 24, Breed is 22 and Cahill is 20. So the fact we were all so close in age probably added to the bit of competitiveness and the bit of spice in the house. But that probably all made us improve a bit, because obviously me being the oldest, I wanted to be the best because I was the oldest and I felt that responsibility.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I still feel a bit of that. But the boys are starting to catch up now physically, unfortunately. But my mother and father would have been very, very encouraging to us when we were young. I mean, where they didn't take us for different sports, the encouragement they gave us, and football was always a thing in our house, and it wasn't only football. When Wimbledon was on, we were making nets out of 2 wheelie bins and a rope. When the Masters was on in golf, we were taking hurls and using them as golf sticks and digging a hole in the lawn to represent the hole in golf. And so we were always outdoors. I think when I was growing up, the PlayStation probably didn't really enter my life till I was maybe 11 or 12. So before that, everything was outdoors. Any chance we got, hopping off each other. We're living in the countryside as well, like we have a farm. So I mean, there's endless ground for us. Space. Yeah, endless ground for us to play in, and we just loved the outdoors and loved playing with each other, and that's where my love of sport probably originated from. Yeah.
And were mum and dad sporty? Did they reach any level? Did dad play soccer? Did he play Gaelic? Did he play football? What?
Yeah, my father played Gaelic, all right, but only up to the age of 16. And I suppose in his era he probably felt the pressure to work. So he probably left school before, we'll say, the modern day 16 or 18-year-old would leave school, and he went away working on the farm and got a job, and that was a young fella's role back then. And probably something that he regrets, and he's told me that he regrets it because he always had a fierce interest in sport. And it was probably until I started playing that he really got back into it. But for the years that he left school and stopped playing football to the years I got into it, he probably regretted maybe not being involved to some capacity there. My mother would have been, she would have told me she would have been a very good basketballer up to the end of her secondary school years. So while they did play sport, I suppose that they had interest. It wasn't anything of a high level, but maybe that helped us too. Maybe their ambition and their own understanding of sport for young people probably helped us probably to exceed that a little bit more, but they were always very encouraging towards us.
I think it's very common in elite athletes, and I've talked to a lot of athletes in the 30 years I've had in sporting goods, that sometimes if that is the case, and if there is some regret from a parental perspective, then with the kids coming along, that is the opportunity to potentially, I want to say, live the life that they wanted, but certainly to go, okay, didn't happen for me for whatever reason because I went on the farm and I couldn't do it, I didn't have time, but here's an opportunity for my 4 kids, maybe one of them, 2 of them, 3 of them, 4 of them can be something. I think that is a really common thing to hear in sport, that the parents are the driving force behind that, because maybe there is some regret that they weren't able to do it themselves. Maybe they had the ability to do it themselves but weren't able to achieve it.
Yeah, I don't know what to be honest with you. I don't think that was even it, because we were never, I never felt under pressure to either go to play or to be successful in sport. And, as long as we were happy, no matter what that was the main driver for our parents. And I think that completely, that took pressure off winning, because there is already enough pressure on young people to be successful and to be at, to be training, to be at the top of their level, whatever level that is that they're playing at. But for our parents, there was never any, being given out after a game because we did X and Y wrong, or there was always encouraging words, and there was never any pressure on us, And it was ironic that there was no pressure put on us, but yet all of us are still playing and really enjoying it and have been relatively successful. So that's something that I would definitely take from my childhood, that it was all about enjoyment, and they encouraged us to enjoy it. And if football wasn't for us, or it was soccer, or it was a rugby, a basketball, whatever that was, it didn't matter as long as our happiness was first.
Which is brilliant.
Yeah, completely. Brilliant. Yeah, we were and we are very lucky that way.
But at some stage, football presumably becomes more important to you, becomes most important. Talk me about that football journey. What was the first club? I guess from what you've said, maybe you were in a football club, and maybe you were in a tennis club, and maybe you were doing 4, 5, 6 sports. Talk me through the football journey, and when did that become more important for you? How did that happen?
Yeah, so I was playing sport in Rathmore and Killarney. So Killarney would be our closest big town club. So I played soccer with Killarney, and I played with them from under 11 to under 13. And I actually went to a soccer camp inside in Killarney. It was just like a summer camp, and I went in there, and one of the lads asked me would I go on goal for a drill, and I happened to play very well in goal. I'd never played in goal now, my club in GA, which is Rathmore, and he asked me would I come in and play with Killarney Celtic for a year. And sure, I said, look, I'm a young fella, bit of soccer, I'd enjoy that. I went in, and then I made our county team from that, and I played 3 years with our county team, and I actually went to Kennedy Cup. I'm not sure if do you know Kennedy Cup?
Yeah,
I went to Kennedy Cup with Kerry, and started. I put in a decent Kennedy Cup, and we actually got to the National Cup semi-final with Killarney, which was a huge achievement for us. And actually, Home Farm beat us, which would be a big Dublin club.
Big club,
Home Farm beat us in Killarney after extra time.
Wow.
So we'd actually, and funny enough, actually a lot of that team were actually on the Kerry panel this year for the All-Ireland, which was funny. We were going through that team, and we were making comparisons. But from there, I got trials with the Irish national team then for in goal, and I got a week trial over Nottingham Forest.
Did you really?
I did, yeah. Got a week trial over Nottingham Forest when I was 14, and myself, my younger brother, my father, and Mikey Lyne, who would have been my Killarney Celtic coach, flew over, and it was a bit surreal. Like I suppose I'm a country boy, so going over to England for a trial wouldn't have been something that would have been expected of a young country fella, and it was something that was massive for me at the time. But I was always obsessed with GA, but I suppose the lure of the professionalism, the lure of the razzmatazz of playing soccer in England, it probably made me question what I really wanted. And it was coming to the stage where I was 14, and I was being pulled kind of in different directions, that I kind of said to myself that, right, I probably need to make a decision here, which route I'm going. And Anyway, spent 5 days over in Nottingham. Remember, we trained from 10 to 12 in the morning, off from 12 to 2, trained 2 to 4, which was, completely...
You've never done before?
No, never done before or since.
Yeah.
And I said, if I enjoy this, I'm going to go for it. I'm really going to go for the soccer side of it. But I don't know, was it a combination of me being homesick because I was only 14, my first time away from home, and I probably found the pressure a lot when I was over there for the 5 days, and I came home and I just pulled the plug in soccer. I pulled the plug in it. I said, I didn't enjoy it. I'd be as happy as if I was above in Rabig, which is our local J field, kicking ball with my friends. I still have, and I had a great group of friends in Rathmore. I love being around my family, and for me, the dream of playing for Kerry and winning All-Ireland, which at the time was still a distant dream, probably took over, and I kind of made the decision when I was 14 then that I was going to really commit to playing football.
Which is an interesting one, and I've heard it again. It's sort of, I want to say it's quite a common Irish thing. It feels like it. So up in the north, Roy Carroll is from a global perspective, is our global brand ambassador, and Roy, as a country boy, will tell the story about going to Hull City at 17 and being massively homesick and the whole thing. And I think, having worked with All Ireland athletes again for a long time, I think it's a really common thing, that potential move from a small town island to it doesn't matter whether it's Forest or City, or to an English football club. When even though you might have the talent, it's a tough one, isn't it?
Oh,
it's a tough call.
It was, yeah. Well, no, it certainly was a tough call. And look, the professionalism side of thing, I mean, like that's huge for any young fella. And I know, like, even if I committed to soccer, who would say I was making, like, it's only a very small percentage who make it from the academy up.
Yeah.
And for me, that wasn't worth the risk taking. Like, there was another fellow over in Nottingham at the time. He was a couple of years older than me, and he was actually from Kerry as well. And he'd spent a couple of summers, I think he'd spent 3 or 4 summers over there, and he actually wasn't offered a contract when he was 18. And I probably looked at him and said, Jesus, like, I mean, he's committed a lot of summers there and missed a lot of football. Is it really worth it? And at the time, in fairness, my father, like I said before, was saying, look, whatever you want to do, it's up to yourself, we'll back you, whatever you want to do. And again, that probably lack of pressure on me probably helped me make a decision for myself. And at the time I made the decision, and in fairness, I had a few calls from Killarney Celtic and a few calls from Kerry to come back, and I resisted those, which was tough. When I'm teaching a 14-year-old now, and I'm saying, geez, like, that's a big decision to make for a 14-year-old,
Absolutely.
And how are you supposed to have the life experience to make that? And I probably, just my obsession with football from the age of 4 and 5, and just absolutely idolising Kerry players and Rathmore players, just probably lended me towards going playing football. But I remember I was over, my first action in Nottingham actually was playing in under 15, so I was 14 at the time, playing an under 15 game against Brentford, and they put me in goal for the last 20 minutes. And like, if you watch academy soccer and you watch Kerry soccer, particularly back in that day, complete different. Like, I mean, anytime I got the ball in Kerry, I was putting it over the top.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'd a fella
it's a different technique, I'm sure.
We'd a fella from Killarney called Joel Hook, and one of the fastest players in Kerry, and I was just beating it over the top. I mean, I never played it to my right back or my left back, and I was getting the ball over, and I was hoofing it, and I was under serious pressure. The boys are passing the ball back to me. I was saying, what's going on here?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I remember the manager came on. I was like, tell me, calm down, give it to the boys outside. But I was completely out of my comfort zone, out of my depth. But when we got into the training, then, like, all the goalkeepers trained together, so from 14 to youth, about 10 keepers trained together, and I really enjoyed that aspect of it. But I could see that the fellas I was training with had way more exposure to goalkeeper coaching than I had. And in fairness, I had some great goalkeeper coaches involved with me from under 11 to under 14, but I suppose it was a smaller capacity because I was playing 2 sports, so my exposure probably wasn't much of them. And I probably felt out of my depth a bit over there, and I felt under pressure, and I probably missed home, and then probably all that combined together probably said, I don't think this is for me.
So you're 14, you've effectively closed the door on soccer.
Yeah.
Football's for me.
Mm-hmm.
talk me through that journey. You go for 40. How does that evolve? How does it happen? How do you ultimately become the all-star goalkeeper that you are in 2022?
Yeah, well, initially, when I gave up soccer, I said, right, I'm finished now with goalkeeping. That I'm going to commit, because I've always played outfield with my my GA club in Rathmore.
Oh, so this wasn't just turning your back on soccer. This was turning your back on goalkeeping at 14.
Well, initially it was soccer, but I only played in goal in soccer. So then I thought, I'm going to play in GA now, and all I knew in GA was playing outfield. So it wasn't that I made a conscious decision to say, no, goalkeeping's not for me. It was more soccer, and the goalkeeping element kind of was with soccer. So I kind of pushed that to the side. I got brought into an under 14 development squad, so like an under 14 academy with Kerry, GA. And I remember coming in, brought my outfield gloves and rocked up to the session or whatever, and they were picking two teams and I was in goal. And I was like, what's going on here? But again, it was a young fella. I said, look, I'm not going to be kicking up any storms here, so I went to goal. Again, played really well. It was like the soccer camp in Killarney. Played really well in goal, and we played a Munster competition which we won, and I played in goal and again played really well. So I kind of stuck there for a while, stuck in goal for a while, and I'd say each year up till minor I was trying to get out of goal with Kerry, which is ironic enough.
Totally.
Which is ironic enough. And friends will tell you, and even players inside Kerry will tell you that I probably felt that I had something to offer outfield, and that is where my love of football came from, was playing outfield. And I tried to as I say, get out of goal, but I suppose I was just playing too well to a certain degree, that I was doing, even though I was trying to get out of goal, I was playing too well in goal to get out of there. So I played up to under 16 with development squads, and I played 2-year Kerry minor then. Kerry minor would be a massive thing for any young fella in Ireland to play with his county minor squad. It's the first time you're really exposed to the professional environment, where you're training, anywhere between 3 and 5 nights a week. You're playing before senior into county games. You get an opportunity to play in Crow Park, and that's the first time as a young fella you get that opportunity. So something that's really taken seriously, and it's a great privilege for any young fella to play. And I was lucky that we won All Ireland my second in 2014. So when I was 18, my last year minor, won All Ireland, and I played pretty well that year, and that's probably where a large amount of my senior and county career has stemmed from, because after that, when I was 19, I was called into the Kerry squad first, the Kerry senior squad first, and I spent a couple of months in there.
Were you still hankering to be an outfield player?
Probably not.
Had you got it out of your system?
No. When I got a call for to play Kerry senior football,
you had to recognise, okay, I'm a keeper. This is the outfield.
Yeah, initially
your Kerry heroes, therefore, were outfield when you're growing up with. It was never a Kerry goalkeeper.
No, it was a Kerry goalkeeper as well. Okay. There was actually a fella from Rathmore in goal when Kerry won the All-Ireland in 2000, Declan O'Keefe.
So you had a sort of an anchor. You had somebody to aspire to.
I did. And so I was brought in when I was 19. I only spent a couple of months in there because I actually, after minor campaign, I had a nice few injuries. I had a bit of bad patellar tendonitis in my knee, and that was kind of degenerating a bit, and I needed a bit of time to get the body right there. And between minor and senior, there's a 21 age group, so I played 3 years with those. Guess what? Tried to get outfield again.
Hang on a minute, you just told me that when I was 19 you'd given up on the outfield team, you were going to be a goalkeeper
for that year.
Now you just said at 21 hang on a second, I want to be outfield again.
There's 2 more times I tried to get out.
Right, okay.
There's when I was 20, Jack O'Connor, who's our senior manager now, I got outfield and I was actually playing pretty well actually. I was doing okay.
Did you force it? Did you say, oh come on, give me a chance? Because you're in the squad.
Yeah.
You're in the squad as a keeper.
Well, Jack was our minor manager too, right. So I had a certain relationship built up with him. So I felt I was comfortable enough to ring him and say, "Look, Jack, I think I have something to offer here. Can you just give me a chance?" And in fairness to me, he gave me a chance when I was 20, and I tore my hamstring 3 times in 5 months, and that finished that. So when Jack rang me the following year, he said to me, "Shane, I think it's time to make the step back." And I was like, "Yeah, look, that's fair enough." So I made a step back then for my last year, 21, And
so that's interesting. So let's just do you think that's your body telling you that you can't? Because we all know as an outfield Gaelic football player, it's got to be one of the most physically demanding roles, arguably in any sport, because the distance that you cover, it's for those that don't watch the sport, it's pretty full on, isn't it? It's you've got to be a finely tuned athlete, and you're an amateur athlete.
Yeah, 100%.
It's a serious shift that you put.
Oh,
in.
massive, and like you can see, like even if you tune into any inter-county game, or even the club, like if you went to watch a club game around here, I guarantee you'd be very impressed by the level of physicality that players are at. But the GA players are really, we're kind of tribal, and even at club level, like our clubs, we play club matches. It's do or die. You're representing your parish, and you're playing for your family, cousins, relatives, neighbours. You really do prepare accordingly then because of that. And was that my body telling me? Possibly, but I'd been very injury prone from the age of 15. I probably grew very quickly.
Right.
And I had stuff like Ashcut slatters, and I was my body was probably growing too quickly for the physical demands I was put it under. And I tore my hamstring trains in 5 months, and that finished. I played no part that year so when I was 20, I played no part of the 21s because of my injuries. Played the last year 21s. We got beaten All-Ireland semi-final, and the following year I was invited into Kerry senior panel again. And at the time, I told the senior manager I wanted to really commit. I wanted to give one last drive to play no field, where I give 1 year in my club, try to get my body right.
Still at 20 what? 22?
22,
This is 4 years. This is just 4 years ago.
Yeah, 4 years ago, yeah.
4 years ago, you still go, no.
Well, 20...
Forget this goalkeeper malarkey. I want to get out there.
2018, yeah. Well, I've been, I'd had a little bit of success playing with my club. And look, I believed I was... how would I put it? I was kind of, at the time, I was kind of saying to myself that I'm going to risk it all to have it all, I suppose, if that makes sense. I wanted to put it on the line to see, really could I challenge myself here to get up to the, like, I knew physically I was going to be under pressure just because I suppose my general genetic makeup wouldn't be the most athletic, so I knew I'd have to do a lot of work in the gym and a lot of work in the field. And I gave myself 2018 just to play with my club, and really commit to getting my body in the best shape I could possible, to put my best foot forward to maybe make it with a Kerry senior inter-county team outfield. And I put in a huge effort that year myself, and a lot of it probably was on my own shoulders, whereas I'm probably used to training in a team environment where someone probably shouting behind you, have a coach shouting at you, whereas a lot of it when you're playing with your club is on your own shoulders, I suppose, to get up to inter-county level. You need to probably do that a little bit extra. And I probably realised that year that I needed the professionalism. I needed to play with Kerry, no matter what that was. I needed the bite of playing in front of big crowds, to be working with elite coaches, to being exposed to nutritionists, sports psychologists. Like, I kind of eat that stuff up, and I really enjoyed that professional element to it. And I knew that I probably wouldn't be, which is probably a bad thing to say, that I wouldn't be, my appetite for football wouldn't be satisfied with just playing with my club. I needed something else on top of that. Because I suppose my ambition for me to improve, I felt I needed to be with Kerry. And when Peter Keane got the job in 2019, he gave me a phone call to see would I come back in, and I was very fortunate because I hadn't played in goal all year in my club the year before. Peter probably had no, it wasn't like I was an obvious choice to bring in. He took a gamble on me, and I'll be forever grateful for him for taking the gamble on me. And lo and behold, I've been playing with Kerry the last 4 years, and have enjoyed every moment of it. But when I went back that year, that was when I really made the decision. I'm a goalkeeper now. I need to park this outfield crack, because if that's always hanging on the back of my head, I'm not going to improve. I'm not going to be able to commit to it fully. I need to park this now mentally and really focus on improving as a goalkeeper. And since I've done that, I probably found even more enjoyment in playing goal. I've learned I probably really found myself part of that goalkeeper union mindset, I suppose, where we're a small bit, again, like I spoke about the Gaelic players, we're a bit tribal playing goal. And I've really enjoyed my time working with, the other goalkeepers inside in Kerry, and working with our coach Brendan Keeley. It's been a great couple of years, and thankfully it culminated with a bit of silverware this year, which we've been chasing with the last 4 years. And it's been a great year this year, but I suppose I'm conscious that you're only as good as your last game, and our last game will be is still the All-Ireland final, but next year won't be long coming around.
Yeah. I'm going to have to pull you up on this because we talked about this beforehand.
Drive on, yeah.
Have a cup of tea. You are fully committed as a goalkeeper for County Kerry.
Mm-hmm.
We've already said you won the All-Ireland, you're All-Star Goalkeeper.
Mm.
What position do you play for in your club?
Play full forward for my club.
So you haven't quite let go
I have.
of the goalkeeping, of the outfield.
Yeah, well, I suppose
dream. You're still scratching that itch, aren't you?
Well, I suppose I've given up on well, not that I've given up, but I parked that for playing outfield for Kerry, I suppose, which for a long time was a big driving force for me. And I'm really enjoying playing with my club now. But I suppose I'm playing on my club because maybe that's where they see me as I am most effective for my club team, which is essentially a separate team. You know what I mean?
But I guess here's the point, and maybe here's the question. Because you're still playing that role for your club, which is a different role.
Mm-hmm.
A, how many All-Star goalkeepers are still doing that? And B, is it actually helping your goalkeeping? Because it's giving you, because you've got a level of skill, you've got a level of outfield skill. We all know the position of goalkeeping is changing, and you're still relatively traditional, let's call it.
Mm-hmm.
But you've got an understanding of the outfit. Maybe one could argue that it's an advantage for you that how many other All-Star goalkeepers are still playing outfield for their club, or is it a common thing?
Oh, common thing, yeah. Very common, yeah. Very common. They'd be, I'd say, if you go through the last couple of All-Star goalkeepers, there's a fair shot of them. Even I suppose the most successful goalkeeper of all time in GA is Stephen Cluxton from Dublin.
Yeah.
And he plays centre back with his club Parnells. I know Niall Morgan plays from Tyrone, plays outfield with his club. Raymond Galligan, who was an All-Star 2 years ago from Cavan, plays. He played inter-county outfield with his county.
Right.
Ethan Rafferty, who was nominated this year as an All-Star goalkeeper, played midfield with Armagh, centre forward with Armagh for the last couple of years. And you're on about the development in goalkeeping GA, it's been massive. We see goalkeepers now coming up and kicking points from play.
Yeah.
And for me, I think it helps me be comfortable with my skill set, that I know with the margin of error inside playing goal is obviously so small. You're the last line of defence. Any mistake is almost certainly going to be punished. And it helps me if I'm competing with the outfield players and taking contact and being under pressure, marking someone. When I transition to goal, then I back my skills away more because I know I'm able to survive the heat of battle on the outfield. That when I come back into goal, when there's no one marking me per se, that I'll be able to back my skills. Now, the other side of it is, I'm not doing kickouts for 4 months in the year, which is the most important thing in a GA goalkeeper. But I probably feel that I have enough discipline and time that when I get back into Kerry, I can get back up to speed pretty quickly. Now, with my divisional side, East Kerry, that we won championship last Sunday, I was playing in goal. So I play in goal in my divisional side, play outfield in my club. So I'm kind of constantly mixing and matching. Even for the first 2 games of this championship with East Kerry, I was full forward. And every third game and quarter-final, semi-final, final, I played in goal. So I'm kind of, at this stage, I'm 10, 12 years switching between the two. So I probably started to find some bit of a balance, to making sure that I'm not falling behind in my goalkeeping side of things. But this year was the first year in GA as well that we have a split season. So all inter-county is January to August, all club is after, and that helps me even more. So I know for the first 7 months, purely fixated on goalkeeping.
Yeah.
I know for the last 5 months or 4 months, outfield is my gig, and it actually gives me energy playing outfield because it's a bit of a release or something. In goal sometimes I suppose you know, it can be kind of a mentally taxing position just because of the nature of playing goal. You know, through, it's almost like, you know, you keep your name out of the headlines playing goal, you're trying to put your names in the headlines playing outfield. It's a funny one, but playing outfield gives me great energy then to actually go back into goalkeeping. It gives me a bit of release, you know.
I mean, it's fascinating for me. Whilst you're telling me these things, I'm thinking about other sports globally. Are there any other sports where you could, at your level, could do that? And I can't think.
Michael Jordan did baseball, and
it was exactly the one that came into my mind. Exactly that was Michael Jordan and baseball. There's a lot of soccer players that were good, English soccer players in particular, that were good footballers and good cricketers, let's say, because clearly you have a skill set. But in a sport, to play in multiple positions, fascinating. But yeah. But clearly it's working, which is great. So far so good.
No, this year's been extremely enjoyable, and you know, since I got back into Kerry in 2019, I've loved every minute of it. And don't get me wrong, just sometimes it's been a huge challenge because of the nature of playing goal. It's a high wire act, but I suppose throughout the years I've kind of the bit more experience. I think playing goal nearly more so than any other position, you need to be given time to develop and given time to get that experience, because teams are targeting goalkeepers now from kickouts with presses. They're targeting, you know, with different things like high balls and things like that. Like, and you know, with the nature position, at some stage you are going to make a mistake. It's almost inevitable. Absolutely. And I think I've become more comfortable with making mistakes, which is, you know, I've almost accepted mistakes going to happen, whereas before I probably would have been, you know, hoping that they wouldn't have and trying to avoid thinking about a mistake, whereas now I'm probably, if a mistake happens, I'm kind of saying, right, look, what's done is done.
It happened.
You can move on now.
I think that's an age thing, that's 100%. A maturity thing.
It is,
that's how you progress in your career. I think that's a common, doesn't matter if it's soccer or football, I think that's a common goalkeeping trait. But hey, I want to focus on this year now. I really, and we all know what a great year you've had, and we've talked about it, but I want to kind of get behind the scenes a little bit, stuff that people don't know about. So just talk me through the whole journey, this journey that ended up with you lifting the trophy at Croke Park, and did you talk me through the first game and how you felt as a squad, and that whole momentum, I guess, built. And you know, I'd love to just understand that, your mindset as an athlete, as an individual, but also as a squad, and how that evolved, really. So the competition starts when's the first game on that journey?
So I suppose in the J and county you have a league and you have a championship. So the league is kind of a warm up tournament for your championship fixture. So the league started the last week in January above in Kildare, and we had new management this year. So Jack O'Connor took over this year, and I suppose that probably brought a bit of freshness anyway, I suppose, from the start, and kind of something new, which often a new management does. And from the outset, you know, we'd been playing very well this year. We got a good run there in the league, where we played a couple of really intense matches and came out the right side of them. And I suppose that probably built the confidence throughout the year, and we ended up winning the league title above in Croke Park against Mayo.
But that first, new management comes in. That first meeting, blackboard, whiteboard, whatever. What is it, guys? It's All Ireland. Is it there already? Is it there? This is the goal, nothing else, or how's?
Well, that's probably an unwritten rule in Kerry. Like it's not written.
That pressure's always
it is.
It's an unspoken thing, isn't it?
And like, without sounding, you know, cocky about it, you know, every year you go into Kerry, you expect to win All-Ireland, you know, and it's anything less than that is a failure. And you know, that's probably, some may say that's an unhealthy thing, but I think for me it's a healthy thing, you know. And you know, we have a tradition in Kerry and history as players. We understand that we have to almost rise up to, and I think that's a good thing. So it's not something that's written on a whiteboard. It's like it's a bit of a cliche at the moment, but it's always, the next training, next game, step by step process. I think for me, if you look too ahead in advance, you lose sight of what's here and now, and if you lose sight of what's here and now, things start to crumble pretty quick. So from our first meeting, it was probably just reviewing last year. We lost semi-final last year against Tyrone after extra time, and that was our first thing we did. Probably review that game and probably focused on the areas we needed to look at going forward for the league campaign. And we put in a really great couple of months training and playing, and where we really gelled as a team as well. Like the environment of the last couple of years has just been, complete kind of absence of ego, I suppose, and real friendship, more than just teammates, I suppose, is what you call it. And it's been a really enjoyable league campaign, and we got a bit of silverware there, and we won the Division 1 league against Mayo and Crow Park, and that was a nice victory, but that was only a stepping stone to what we really wanted.
Yeah. And your personal goals then at the start of the season, what did you? Yeah. Your targets, because forget the team, the unwritten rules. We're going to win All Ireland, but what were your personal goals?
My target was to start with Kerry, to be honest with you, because Shane Murphy had been brought into Kerry, and Shane would be one of my best friends now. Like we're obviously the biggest competitors, but we're get on really, really well together and really drive each other on, which is a great relationship. But Shane started the first game in above in Kildare, and started the second game against Mayo. So Shane started the first two games, and in all honesty, I was under serious pressure at that stage, and we kind of got every second game then for the league. So throughout the league, it was a case where I was trying to probably stay as positive as I could. Try to help Shane as much as he could when he was playing or when he was training, and when I got my opportunity then to try to nail it down. But again, probably my last 3 years playing with Kerry probably helped me a bit, and the small bit of experience to say, not to panic, do the little things right, focus on when Shane is playing, make sure he does well, focus on when I'm playing, that I'm trying to impose my strengths of my game and not trying to over try, if that makes sense. Sometimes you can try too hard, and then it becomes forced, and then things maybe start to go wrong. But I got the nod for the league final then, and played well in the league final. So I probably thought I was in a pretty good chance of starting the championship then, which I did. And initially in the league campaign, it was a battle between myself and Shane, and that was my initial thing to say, right, look, let's see, can I nail down my spot here if I can, and contribute to whatever I could to Kerry. And
you held your spot then through all the way to the All Ireland?
Yeah, I held the spot through to All Ireland, yeah. And funnily enough, when you're in a big battle, you probably you do feel the pressure of that, but in a funny way, it probably forces you to look at your own game that bit more than if you felt comfortable in your position.
Yeah.
So ironically, it probably pushed me on to improve my own game and to set my own standard of performance that bit higher. And Shane, like, in fairness to Shane, I must say, like, it would have been easy for him to almost begrudge me for getting the position, but never ever got that sense to him, and our relationship got closer and closer throughout the year, which is great credit to him that he put Kerry first, which can be a hard thing to do. And I'd like to think that if the shoe was in the other hand, that I'd do the same for him.
Yeah.
But held my position in throughout the championship, and was continuing to play well, and thankfully things culminated in winning All Ireland in last August.
So you got there, All Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
I guess your dream, it was the stuff that you'd had your heroes as you were growing up. It was the Kerry heritage, there's the Kerry mentality. It's not fate, but you kind of feel as if you've got all the generations previous that you want to keep the Kerry story going, if you like. We know what happened in the final, but I want to just understand how does it. When do you go up there? Is it the day before? Is it 2 days before? That pre-game stuff. You're just about to hit. This is your first final.
No, final night of final 19 as well.
Final in 19.
We lost the final in 19. Yeah.
Okay, so this is second final.
Yeah.
Different from the first final? Different feel, different vibe, different... Was it... Talk me through that sort of...
Yeah, definitely different.
Different approach, new management, different sort of feel?
Well, it was more a different feel for me personally because I'd been through it before. And when I was playing in 2019, every game I played straight from my debut against Tyrone in Killarney in the league, every game was a step up. And every game was something new that I hadn't experienced. And I remember before that 19 final, being, really nervous now, like a level of nerves that I hadn't experienced before, and something new I had to cope with. But once I'd been in that position, All-Ireland final, I said, I've been there before. I know what goes on. There's a lot of pre-stuff before the game. Like there's the shake of the president's head and the red carpet comes out. We do a parade around the field, which isn't done before any other game.
Yeah.
And all that stuff, while it sounds insignificant, is significant when you're involved in it because it's a change in routine from what you're used to.
Yeah.
And that can affect people differently. And I suppose mentally, when you're there and you've been through that, you know what to expect. You know what's happening. You know what's coming next. There's nothing new. And I suppose for me mentally, I was able to enjoy the build up to this All-Ireland final much more than I would have in 19 because I would have a small more experience, a little more comfortable in what's expected of me, in what I am to expect from the game. So we would have went up on Saturday morning as a team. Game was on Sunday. Went up Saturday morning as a team. Travelled up by coach up to Dublin. Would have stopped off halfway, maybe for a coffee or something, a bit of a chat, and got the coach up then. And to be honest, on that night then, it's just about we have whatever our dinner together. We've bit of crack, it's a bit of ping pong table going, bit of one touch, get a few rub-outs from the physios need to, but it's I suppose at that stage the work is done, so we're just trying to relax and make sure we're conserving energy and trying to make ourselves feel as comfortable as possible to try to make sure that we're ready to perform the following day. And Saturday is actually kind of a really enjoyable day before the All-Ireland because the hype the week before, the 2 weeks before, the hype around Kerry was fantastic. You had kids coming up to you, the flags are getting up, the posters are being put up. There's a lot going on, with tickets and, it's a bit crazy and you try to shelter yourself from that. But as, with the greatest will in the world, you can't shelter yourself completely from the hype. So when you get into your bubble then, where you're with all the players, you get on the coach, maybe turn the phone on airplane mode, and it's just you and the boys then, and you're all in this together. Yeah. You've been through whatever you've been through over the last couple of years or the last couple of months, and you're in your own bubble then, and it's just very comfortable then. You're with your own people, and Saturday's kind of a relaxing day and a kind of a day where we have a bit of crack lead up to the game.
Love it. Okay, great. So you've had your Saturday. So Saturday's your chill night with the squad. Sunday, is there a pre-game? What's the whole process? Is there a big pre-game meeting? Come on in, we're meeting at 9 and it's bang bang bang, bang, or did it continue to be quite relaxed?
No, not as such. Yeah, kind of quite relaxed. You kind of get up at normally around 8 o'clock. We have a breakfast at 8, and then there's kind of a bit of free time after. Some fellas go for a walk, some fellas go for a coffee, some fellas go back to the bed for an hour's kip, some fellas, trying a bit of Netflix, and then you've your lunch, a pre-game lunch, maybe about 11, and we'd have a small meeting after that. It wouldn't be anything formal, just maybe going over a few maybe key points before, key tactical points, just to get fellas tuned in for the game.
Where'd you stay?
We stayed out in what's the name of it? We stayed out in Kildare. I can't even remember the name of it now, to be honest with you.
Same hotel that you stayed in 19, or different?
Different.
So there wasn't that, Groundhog Day, we're back in the place.
No.
This is fresh and new and.
No, it was but it was any hotel we seem to stay at, it's kind of outside the buzz of where the fans are. So again, that probably helps us to keep relaxed and everything. And the morning is probably the longest time to put down. Because at that stage, when you get up in the morning, you just want to play the game.
Yeah.
And there's a sense of anticipation. and you're only trying to kill time, whatever way possible. There was putting greens in the hotel now where we were, and we were out there with the putters, just anything to do to kill a bit of time and for a bit of coffee.
Competition? Bit of competition?
Oh yeah, there's always
bit of money down on the putting.
There's always
there's
always a bit of friendly competition. Yeah. I suppose we'd be the kind of that way inclined anyway as athletes. But
and how are you? Are you a nervous athlete? Are you on the scale? Because of course you get some that are absolutely, they're even physically sick before the game. Or where are you on that sort of nervousness scale for a big final?
I am probably in the lower half of it, but again, that would have been different for 19. Like I would have been on the upper echelon for 19, definitely. Would have been really nervous for that game. But in general, I'm calm enough, and I think it's kind of, I think I'm calm because I feel I have the work done. And if that was not the case, if I feel I didn't have the work done, I think I'd be nervous then. But I'm kind of at the stage where it hits the game. I'm like, look, what's done is done now. Just got to focus on what happens, and what happens.
How many in 19 were there in 22?
A lot, yeah.
So presumably, if you're feeling that, maybe that was a big plus, that most of the guys were also feeling that. Calmer, kind of been here, we've done it before, it wasn't a great result, but did you feel that in the squad? Did you feel that there was this calm confidence in a way that was maybe different this time?
Probably hard to quantify, and again, your own feeling of that is through your own prism and how you feel yourself, and I suppose you get perception of how the group is feeling, but that's often a reflection of how you're feeling too. So probably hard for me to speak on how other fellas felt, but I just know for myself it was much easier to enjoy the build up, and the bus journey is something that I always enjoy. You go through the city of Dublin to get to Croke Park. Fans are up there, they're having their few pints. Young kids have the flags out, the Borons are going. There's real buzz and energy around Dublin. And did you see all the Kerry people there? And you're either getting claps as you're passing, or you're getting boos from the opposition as you're passing. And all of that lends itself to the sense of occasion. And it's something that I try to actively enjoy this year, is the bus journeys into Croke Park when we've been playing there, because they're great. They're great memories, and they're a great source of energy for me as a player anyway. And I remember, getting on the bus that day in the hotel, and sitting in my seat, my usual place in the bus. We kind of all have our own spots in the bus.
Oh, I was going to say, okay, so that's just...
Yeah.
What happens if someone's sitting in your... Or doesn't it never happen?
No, it doesn't happen, no. It doesn't happen because I suppose...
We're creatures of habit, aren't we? That's same place at breakfast, dinner, when you sit on a dining room table?
No, it's only the bus really. It's only the bus, because where we eat in terms of the location changes so often.
Okay.
It's probably more so the bus.
The bus is sacrosanct. That's Shane Ryan's place. Don't you dare sit in my seat.
Yeah.
Are you window or you aisle?
I'm an aisle seat. Well, we actually rotate the fella beside me. We kind of rotate depending, because we're both kind of big fellas. So the window seat would be tight for leg space.
How does that work? Who gets there first, or how do you?
No, I'd be generous enough in the fact that I'm in goal and he's outfield. That I feel
you let him stretch his legs.
He would need the leg space more than me, so I normally give him the benefit of the doubt. But yeah, and I think that's a sense of familiarity,
routine.
I'm sitting with David, and myself and David, we get on really well together, and we kind of we know how each other works, and we know kind of what to say to each other on the way into a game, so that probably helps with the sense of calmness as well.
So what about dressing room? Are you a player with a routine that you do certain things, you change in a certain way, you fold things? There's certain athletes that will do, and that goes there and there, and I've got. Is that you, or are you random, or how does that play out?
I've actively tried to be not superstitious.
Okay.
And I've actually tried this because when I was in college studying to be a PE and maths teacher, we did a module in sports psychology, and with Paul O'Connell. You know Paul O'Connell? Yeah. With Paul O'Connell in to talk to us about sports psychology, and for him, he couldn't understand how if someone put on their left sock before their right, that it caused them to play, and I put in quotes, like a bag of shit. and he could not understand how that would feed into someone's performance habit when there was no direct correlation between what sock you put on and how you played.
Yeah.
And I remember that kind of hit a note in me, and I knew a lot of players have superstitions, and I actively forced myself to not, if I did something someday and I played well, to not attribute what I did 2 hours before the game to what happened in the game. Now, the one thing I would always do, to be fair, and I would, when I say superstitious, I'm not sure if this is superstition or not, but I'd always go to visit my grandparents' graves and the day before the game, before I go on the bus on the Saturday morning. That's something I would do, and I think that is, it's just a comfort for me. I think
that's routine. I think that's superstitious.
Yeah, but it's more I suppose it's more a spiritual thing for me, though.
Calming, spiritual.
That I know that there's
grounding.
someone. Yeah, and it's something that I would always, in times of doubt, or in times of how do I put it, where I'd be looking for guidance in life, whether that be sport or non-sport, I would always pray to relatives who've passed on. And I suppose when I feel under pressure in the lead up to the All-Ireland final or lead up to the championship game, I'd always give a call up there, and it's just a comfort thing for me to know when I'm going into the bus, there's someone watching over me here, and I'd be fine no matter what happens. So that is one thing, all right, I suppose, that I am superstitious about.
Only before game, or would you pretend like the night before you go to Dublin, or even do you leave are you on the pitch? Are you the sort of player that would pray? You go and get in your position and you pray. Are you that sort of player?
Spontaneously, I blessed myself all right before Shawnee Shea took our kick before Shawnee scored last minute free against Dublin. I blessed myself there. Yeah, I did. And it's probably more an instinctive thing than.
I didn't realise you were doing it. It was just
no, and I don't think I've actually spoke. I don't think I told anyone about that. Actually, it only clicked into my head there now. I did that instinctively. Yeah. But it's something that I look for guidance to if I felt I was under a bit of pressure or really needed something. Yeah.
I think it's funny, isn't it? Again, I've talked to lots of athletes over the years, and it doesn't matter what it is. It's that moment that even with keepers, it's moving a strap or doing something.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a prayer, if it just for that split second takes you out of the moment.
Mm-hmm.
To sort of, it's that reset button, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. No, I don't have anything. My dressing room routine is not really consistent. No, I suppose we do. Like, we have a little AstroTurf area inside in Crow Park in the dressing room, and I'd always do a bit there with Brendan Keeley, our goalkeeper coach, and the other goalkeeper. That's probably the only consistent thing that we have. Other than that, I just try to remain as relaxed as possible, and I don't feel the need to get kind of hyped up when I'm playing goal, because I can't really expend that energy, whereas an outfield fella is brace himself to cover 10-12 kilometres, make several sprint distance bursts, to be hitting fellas, making contact, whereas I'm standing essentially for 70 minutes bar, the odd gallop up the field. So I try to really contain my energy to my mental focus rather than my physical.
How many pairs of gloves did you take with you on the day?
3.
Okay.
Yeah, 3. I would always make sure spare gloves, spare boots, 2 pairs of socks, 2 pairs of shorts, 2 caps. I'd have about 15 tees.
And what do you take on pitch with you? Do you take a cap? Do you take a water bottle? Do you take a spare pair of gloves? What do you?
Yeah, in fairness, I probably look to the equipment guide to start my way with the water bottles to make sure that they're in the goal for me when the game starts. Other than that, in my bag I'd have my gloves, spare pair of gloves. I'd have about 10 tees, because my tees are always being robbed from outfielders. About 10 tees, my gum shield.
Any little memento in there? Any little?
No, I have the matcha cards are called. When someone dies, you get a card, with their face and a prayer. That goes into my kit bag, all right.
Doesn't go on pitch?
No, not on pitch.
Back in the dressing room?
No, I did take a rosary medal on pitch in my sock before, and ended up getting to the bottom of my sock.
You got this thing.
And there was serious pain for about 20 minutes. And that was when I was minor, actually, because in fairness to my mother would be very religious as well. So she would have thrown rosary beads at me and holy medals, and I put them into my sock for one game, right, and up in the bottom of my shoe.
It was a good idea.
It was good at the time. Yeah, but they stay in the gear bag now. But I'd always make sure to bring them as well. Again, it's just probably a spiritual thing to have a small bit of comfort to do some watching over you, I suppose.
And how conscious are you? You mentioned as a keeper, you're, let's say, a little bit more static than outfield players. How conscious are you of the crowd, of people around you in an environment like that? 85,000 plus people
during the game. Probably not a whole pile, because while you are static, your level of concentration has to be so high, because it's easy to switch off when you're playing goal, because when you're actively not involved in the game for 6-7 minutes, it's easy to become, you know, passive and almost like a fan. But I suppose I'm kind of trying to constantly talk to the defence, get messages across, and that keeps me in the game too. The more I'm talking to keep the boys kind of on task, but I'm really actually kind of keeping myself on task in a weird way. But before the game, I'd be all about soaking up the crowd, you know, having a look around the parade.
Do you look for family and friends, and do you know where they're sitting? Do you have that sort of vibe?
I know where they're sitting, but I can't see them. Not up there. They're up too far.
Are you a waver?
No.
You're just a calm. I know they're there. I'm going to look up, and they're there.
Yeah,
and they're
yeah.
looking at me.
Yeah, like before, like the two parades before the Dublin game in semi-final was just like when I say unbelievable, it was unbelievable. We turned up. Hill 16 would be Dublin's, where a lot of Dublin fans would go, and they'd be very boisterous and vocal and bring serious atmosphere. And we turned from the Cusack stand up to the hill, and like it was kind of one of those surreal moments, kind of out of body experiences where you're like, this is living, you know. The crowd absolutely vibrated the ground, and I knew that everyone in the ground and everyone behind me, because I was second in the parade, you know, felt that as well. And it was like, this is class, like this, here we go, like, you know. And I suppose in 19, when we played Dublin Ireland final, if I heard that noise in 19, I may have been like, oh God, you know. But there's no, I kind of, you know, I really kind of look forward to hearing that. And the same in the Ireland final, you know, the noise from the Kerry supporters was something that, you know, the Dublin game was something else, but the Galway game then was another level again. And I really enjoyed the parade beforehand. I soaked up the crowd. I made a kind of conscious effort to say, you know, it's important to enjoy these, because we don't know what life is going to have in store for us, you know, the following day or the next week. And, you know, with the will of God, I get to experience that again, but I just don't know. You don't know if you will or not for sure. And I was kind of conscious to try to soak up the moment and live in the moment and enjoy that. So before the whistle, yeah, absolutely soak up the crowd. Once the game starts, it needs to be on, you know, what's my job here? What do we need to do to make sure that Kerry win this game?
And it was a hell of a game. I mean, it was backwards and forwards for an hour probably, wasn't it? Until just that last period, Kerry started to gain ascendancy. And at what point did you think, yeah, I think we're there? Or was it? Were you it was literally final whistle? I got to wait for that final whistle. Or did you feel, because with 5 minutes to go, I was thinking as a, you know, watching the game, thinking, I think they've got this. Yeah, no,
as a goalkeeper, you always understand that it only takes one mistake to change a game, particularly as a goalkeeper. So I'm always probably, even though I'd be an optimist in life, I'm a pessimist in the game. Probably I'm always thinking worst case scenario, which I think is a good thing for a goalkeeper to think, because at least then you're always prepared. If a scenario comes up, you're prepared. You're not you're probably being proactive rather than reactive to a situation. But Gavin White got a point to put us up 4, and I was on 73 minutes, and I had a small sigh of relief then, saying, I think we have it here, because I knew they needed a goal and a point at least to come level with us.
Yeah.
But really it was when the final whistle went, and that 30 seconds after the final whistle went was, you know, relief, euphoria, ecstasy. And myself and Paul Murphy are from Rathmore, and we happened to be beside each other when the final whistle went.
Great photos.
Yeah, and really, like, really emotional, like, and the things that come through your head, you know, parents, family, relatives, both that are alive and have passed on, you know, they come flooding through your head then, and you know, it's a real hard feeling to describe, particularly I suppose when it's your first one. It was Paul's second one now, but I'm sure he enjoyed it as much as I did. But when it's your first one, it's such a relief, because, you know, you have an expectation on yourself when you play for intercounty team, but to play for Kerry, that you're only really justified if you win All Ireland, if that makes sense. So for me, it was just kind of realising a childhood dream was something I always wanted to win with Sam Maguire. While you dream of it, did I ever think it was possible? Probably not. So to do it then was, surreal. Yeah.
I mean, it's a brilliant story. It's a fantastic year. I've got a couple of final questions. You're a teacher in a boys' school in Cork. I'd love to know the pre-game banter and the post-game banter, but I'm sure those boys are incredibly proud of you. But just, I'm sure that's the leveler for you, isn't it? Is that you're in front of a class, and okay, you're sir, but
yeah. No, in fairness, like Cork is obviously a rival county to Kerry, and we'd have. I'd have great relationship with the students inside there, and I'd be, I'm very happy in the school I'm in. The school have been very good to me, and I'd have good crack with the lads inside the classroom, hopping a bit of ball. But I think that's all part of it. It probably helps me to to stay focused in the classroom as a teacher. The fact that I can change my personality slightly to have a bit of fun about Jay, knowing that we have something in common outside the classroom, which probably helps the students to understand that I'm more than just a teacher, that I'm a person outside the school as well. But yeah, I've good crack with the lads and great time for them. They're really, really good young fellas back there. I'm there in my 6th year now and loving it, involved with teaching and coaching teams, and loving my time there. Yeah, and as I say, the lads have been very good to me, and when I'm playing well, I get congratulated, but also when I'm not playing well, if I make a mistake, I'm sure
they're your harshest critic.
Monday morning they're telling me as well. So look, you have to take the good with the bad there, and sure it's all a bit of crack at the end of the day.
Okay. And looking forward, 2023. How are we feeling?
Yeah, we're still a bit of action with the club to tidy up with. We've a huge game coming up this weekend with my club Rapmore, so I'm kind of really focusing on that for the moment. We're not in an off season yet as per se, and I'm sure when we do hit the off season, whatever we get, we'll take a couple of weeks to recharge the batteries and get going again, because when you're at the top, the only way is down. So we were the hunters last year, we're going to be the hunted now. So if we don't improve, you're going backwards. So I'm sure when we get back in the pitch and get back in the gym, that we'll start putting plans in place for 23.
Brilliant.
Yeah. I'm
massively proud to have you as a glove glue athlete, and for you to be a small part of your journey. Massively proud of your All Ireland Championship and your All-Star selection this year. So huge congratulations on that. I wish you huge success for 2023 and beyond. But Shane Ryan, thanks for joining us. I'm Paul Sherratt, and that was the Goalkeeping Podcast.